We made it. Another season of KFC SuperCoach AFL is in the books. For one last time, let's look at who was hot and who was cold in round 24. I'm going with a double-barreled hot section to kick us off because these are the sort of trades that can win you a KFC SuperCoach Grand Final, and some people made the bold move, if they had a trade left, to bring in Nick Larkey and or Tex Walker on the weekend, and they both paid off in massive style. They're both cheap, but they both came out and kicked 9 goals. Nick actually just edged Tex out in points for the weekend, 173 to 167, but you'd be absolutely wrapped with both of those scores, especially if you put the captaincy or the vice captaincy on them. Larkey was traded into 52 teams this week and Tex came into 59, so I reckon that's about 110 or so premiership teams in KFC SuperCoach this weekend. Zach Butters is one of my favourite players, and he's an absolute superstar when it comes to KFC SuperCoach because he just plays the way the scorers love, wins his own footy and makes things happen when he gets it. Now, there was always an opening for him to score big against Richmond. He has a pretty good record against the Tigers. Zach just took over in the second half, scored over 100 points in the second half to finish with 158, 30 disposals and 7 marks. Now, he's averaged 139 over the last 5 rounds, and that was after his price had dipped all the way down to nearly 500k. So if you picked him up then, he's been a sensational pickup for the last 5 rounds, all the way through the SuperCoach finals. A big question mark next year. He'll probably be a mid only, but he'll still be a very tempting selection at the start of the season. And the final spot in the hot section for the season has to go to Marcus Bontempelli, the number 1 player in KFC SuperCoach in 2023. He confirmed that on a Saturday night with another huge game. The Doggies needed him to lift, and of course he did, because he is the Bont. 146 SuperCoach points, 31 disposals, 10 tackles. That's probably an aspect of his game that goes a bit underappreciated, that he's a big tackler as well. Who was cold in KFC SuperCoach Grand Final week? I'm going to mention a couple of guys here that we think of as premium selections, but weren't able to get the job done on the weekend and really for the last few rounds, which means they could be potentially cheap pickups at the start of next year, but we'll have to track their pre-seasons very closely. Number 1 on that list is Touk Miller. He was averaging 115 over the first 5 rounds. That's the Touk we know. Then he injured his knee, came back with 8 rounds to go and only averaged 93. So really underwhelming, and 86 on the weekend. Along the way, he also managed to get himself suspended for a week for a squirrel grip of all things. So he's one that we will be watching. Dimmer coming in as the coach. What will he do with that Gold Coast midfield? He's got some amazing jigsaw puzzle pieces to work with. Matty Rao, Noah Anderson, now Sam Flanders coming in there as well. So can Touk return to the heights we've seen in the past? We'll be discussing that a lot over summer. Another player in a similar bracket, Jack Steele. We've talked about him a bit on this video over the course of the season, really. Certainly the second half of the year. He was a sort of a decent price pickup around the buys, but a couple of big scores and then a few underwhelming ones, and another 80 points on the weekend. Just the 19 disposals, 4 tackles, 2 clearances against the Lions, who do have a very strong midfield. Hard to knock him and hard to knock anything Ross Lyon's done this year, really, but it just wasn't the Jack Steele we've known over the past few years. Well, here's another one we'll be keeping a close eye on in pre-season. And to finish us off for the season, one of the guys who was one of the best picks in the first half of the year, Tim Taranto, was averaging about 120 through to Richmond's bye. He's probably going to win their best and fairest. That trade, you definitely give them a tick. But the second half of the year, the numbers just haven't quite been there for Tim. Just a 67 on Grand Final week. That's his lowest score for the year, and he's only averaging 87 since round 15. So not quite sure what's happened to Tim. 19 disposals and 3 tackles against the Power, but he has been a great pickup. He's in nearly everybody's team, so it didn't really hurt us too much on the weekend.